Boy, when was the last time you heard an entire chapter read in church? That was kind of fun. Was that fun? Did you enjoy that? It was good. Storytelling. Good stories. And I wrote that little play, and as it's funny. Here I am, old, and on my way out, and I learned something. Okay, one thing I learned today was how magnificent Algitha's voice is, and there was a time when she was having some problems with it, and Algitha, it is totally back. It is just right there. It's cool. So I'm writing this passage, and here we are. Jesus gets rid of these money changers and the sellers of the animals. He's getting them out of the temple, and all the time I'm a little embarrassed by this story because I don't believe in using violence, and I don't believe in hurting other people. You have to kind of explain what's this story about, and then what we've always talked about. It was like these money changers are taking advantage of the poor people. They come in, they're bringing their wares, and the poor people want to sacrifice something to God, and they're charging and maybe overcharging, and it's a bad deal. And I got an insight, and the insight was there's something more fundamental and something more obvious. Jesus wants to stop the sacrifice. He just wants to, it's a house of prayer, and he says this in some of the other Gospels. It's a house of prayer. He wants the sacrifice to stop. Now, what do we do when we sacrifice another being? An animal, a bird, a cow. What are we doing when we're sacrificing that to God so that we can be right with God? Think about it. You've got this other thing and you're putting it in the middle, in between you and God. And Jesus wants it simple and direct and clear. It's you and God. Go to the temple and pray. No putting other things in between you and God. It's a fundamental problem in humanity. We all suffer from this problem. And that's the need to have an enemy. A need to know that someone is worse than we are. It's the same thing. We kill in order to make peace. We kill in order to make things right with God. If we can only get rid of those bad people, things will be right. And right there, at the core of the gospel, Jesus is saying, that's not God's way. That's not my way. That's not the message. We are not about sacrificing others in order for you to be okay with God. My brother-in-law works in a prison in Nebraska. And they recently had a riot there. And there were some of the complaints, and it's, there's the way we run our prison systems, well, that's another sacrifice on the part of our larger society to say we've got a group of people that are so bad we can treat them in subhuman ways. So there was a riot. But the story that I want to say here is, got these criminals, and some of them are hardened criminals, murderers, rapists, blah, 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 the bad stuff. In the midst of their riot, they made sure to kill 2 people, the child molesters. Why would they do that? They're so human. They had to kill somebody who was worse than them. You know, we give ourselves permission to hate. We got to find somebody who's so bad. You know, the Arabs, the Muslims, somebody who's so bad, we get to treat them like dirt. We get to kill them. And if not, in fact, in our hearts. And you kill somebody in your heart, you withdraw your care, your concern for them. You tell others to do the same. You say, these are the ones that we get to be friends because they're so bad. And you can see how important it is then. If my friendship with you, is my job, it's my place in the community, because I'm friends with you, and the reason we can be friends is because we hate that other person, we desperately have to hate in order to maintain our friendship. And humans do this. Every class, every religion, every race, every creed. We who follow Jesus, we work at not doing it. But we have to think about it. We can't just simply assume that we're immune from something that is so universal. We have to think about it with each other and with a clarity. Am I being a person that is abusing others for my own ends? When people hate each other, they don't bring out the best in each other. When it's a competition for love, it is sort of an anti-love thing. It is so important for us to show love to each other. No matter what a person has done in their life, no matter where they're going in their life, we need to show them love. And what does love do? Love is this thing that God has shown us that builds up individuals, it builds up the community, it creates something powerful, something new, because people are energized and are able to be the best self that they have. We need to love. And this is not, mushy, namby-pamby kind of love. It is love that is looking at the big picture, looking at the picture of how people can become and be themselves. This is the task, one of the tasks, of Christ's church. The people who follow Jesus Christ must be the people who are able to love. We need to do that, each of us sitting here, and we need to call ourselves on it when we don't. We also need to call our brothers and sisters on it when they don't. Jesus died on the cross. He becomes this universal sacrifice. but it's an anti-sacrifice because he's resurrected. He dies on the cross for our sin, one large one amongst us all is our sin of needing to find an enemy. Jesus was innocent. This Sandra Bland woman was innocent. Many, many people who are killed in our wars are innocent of, there's an innocence to everyone. And they die so that others can feel good about themselves. They die so one group can hang together and have its relationship. Jesus died because the Jewish authorities, like any other religious authority at the time, would have just needed him to die because that's what they needed. And the Romans needed him to die so that they could be Romans and be strong and hold to the order of things. And he went to that cross just like any other innocent person might. This is the end. I'm going to be forgotten. What was my life worth? I did all this talking and healing and preaching, and they're just going to kill me and forget me. But God didn't forget. And the Father raised the Son, and the people saw. And it still takes a while to figure it out. It still takes a while to come to new realizations and to have those realizations filter through to other people. And we can look around us, and if we know our history, we can actually say, wow, there has been a lot of realization of what Jesus was doing that's working in the world. So a young woman is accosted by a police officer, someone who's supposed to keep the police, and she winds up dead. And the story is told way too many times in our current history. An 18-year-old girl the next day in a different state in Alabama. We have some work to do, don't we? People need to know the love of Jesus Christ. I'm going to do a song right now. And this one I learned from Scott. And because I'm vain and because I'm leaving, I'm going to do it, and he's going to back me up. And it's totally the opposite way of what it should be. So we're going to do this song. It is the song written in '83 is so fitting for today. And there's a line in the first verse that says, "I traveled through East Texas where many martyrs fell." And that's where Sandra Bland was murdered. Seen the arrow on the doorpost, saying this land is condemned, all the way from New Orleans to Jerusalem. Traveled through East Texas when many martyrs fell, and I know no one can sing the blues like blind Willie McTell. Oh, they hoot out singing, taking down the tents, stars above the barren trees were his only audience. Charcoal gypsy maidens, they struck their feathers well, and nobody can sing the blues like blind Willie McTell. See them big plantations burning, hear the cracking of the whip, smell the streets, magnolia blooming, see the ghost of slavery ships. I can hear the tribes a-mourning, I can hear the undertaker's bell, and I know no one can sing the blues like blind Willie. There's a woman by the river with some fine young handsome man. He's dressed up like a squire, bootleg whiskey in his hand. There's a chain gang on the highway, I can hear the rebel yell, and I know no one can sing the blues like blind Willie McTell. Well, God is in his heaven, we all watch his, but power and greed and corruptible seem to be all that there is. I'm gazing out the window of the St. James Hotel, and I know no one can sing the blues like blind Willie McTell. I know no one can sing the blues like blind Willie McTell. We do anointing for the forgiveness of sins and for the increase of your faith and for the healing of your body